Cool. Hey guys, if the live stream is up, we should probably be
Yep.
meeting now.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Monday's website call. So today is May 23. So I have shared the meeting minutes in the chat. You all can write your names in it. So do we have any newcomers on the call? If so, you can unmute yourself and introduce. So Edna, is it your first time on the call?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. So let's start with the first topic. So first topic is of She Code Africa leaderboard updates. So Owen or Edna, would you like to give an update on She Code Africa leaderboard?
Hi.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi everyone. So some context here before. Sorry, Edna, for cutting you short. I'm so sorry about that. So for some context, we have over the past 2 months, we have been working on a leaderboard for Discuss. There are 5 platforms. The mentees from Edna and Oya, mentees from She Code Africa. They've been working on, a leaderboard for the Discuss platform. And they are going to be demoing what they have been working on. I'm really excited of what they have done, and they're going to be demoing their project. So as they demo, you can also note down like features or feedback for them. You can either, do it via chat, or maybe after their demo, you give them feedback as well. So I'll hand it over to Onya and Edna. Sorry for cutting short again. Thank you.
Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it's visible.
Okay. So this is a leaderboard we've created. We used 3 metrics to basically rank the users. So we have the likes received, the posts, and the solutions accepted, and we got this data from this endpoint. So from here we got the likes received and the post count. And then for the accepted solutions, we had to run it for each user because we're passing the username on the URL. So we had to run this for each of the users, and the accepted answers is here. So those are the 3 metrics that we used. So for each like, a user got 2 points. For each post, they got 1 point, and for each accepted solution, they got 3 points. So initially, the leaderboard is designed to only show the top 5 users. And then when a user clicks on show more, it goes to another page that basically ranks all the users. Yeah. So in terms of what we did in the backend, so we basically fetched the data and then saved them into JSON files. And then after saving it to JSON files, so to populate the HTML, we basically called we fetch the data from now the JSON files that we've already saved the data from. So so we basically have 2 functions, each that populates 2 separate HTML files. So for the top 5 users, we have the winners that's being populated by a different function from the one that populates all the users. So that's a brief overview of what the leaderboard is. So in terms of responsiveness, we included a scroll feature so that a user on a cell phone can scroll and view the entire leaderboard. But yeah, so that's a brief overview. So if you have any questions or suggestions, that would be great.
Thank you, Edna. So the leaderboard looks good. So isn't this leaderboard should be further discussed? it should be displayed from the discuss layer 5.discuss directly, or it's a totally new page.
No, I think it should be displayed from discuss.
Okay.
Yes.
So Lee, anyone have any other comments on this?
Aditya, anything? Raj, looks like you were able to make it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's great from design perspective. Since the mentees don't have access to the production grade forum, we were not able to fit this thing into the real website. So this snippet can be taken from the GitHub and can be pasted to the production grade server, and it will work as well.
Okay, Raj, weren't you guys going through a bunch of setup to run things locally?
Yeah, it's working on our local setup, but we were running discourse in the production mode. In the development mode, not in the production mode.
So can you demo it from a development mode?
Yeah, it's being demoed from the development mode as far as I know.
No, it's not.
It's just a matter of like placing a new route and redirecting the data to there.
Okay, so what's your point then about the production versus development if there's no difference?
So I just make the point to make everyone aware about it, as we don't have the access to put this leaderboard on our live discussion forum.
So I think
Raj, so it's actually
okay. So if I get what Lee is asking is, so basically this is just the HTML and JavaScript file. So I think what Lee is asking is if we have actually infused this particular design, this particular solution into our local discourse. So if that's the question, I don't think we have. We've only like implemented it using the vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we haven't actually like infused it into like a local discourse. So the intentions was if we could get this like this, then maybe one of the admins that knows how to infuse this sort of thing into discourse could do it. So, but I think what it means is that we could actually texted it ourselves on our local discourse. So if I'm correct, I think that's what he was asking.
Also, we can do that as well if that is into the requirement as well, like injecting this.
I guess what I'm asking is like you guys would spend a lot of time trying to set up discuss locally.
Yeah, actually, what happened was initially we thought we need
no, wait, it's okay. So I mean, do you need to set it up locally?
No.
Okay, so then why were you guys going? Okay, all right. I think you guys spent a lot of time doing stuff you probably didn't need to do.
Yeah.
Or if you did do it, then you could have written it differently than this, because what's written is, so Edna's done fantastic for Leonard and Ruth and Raj. Like some feedback is, one, you're probably calling this, especially when you go to the show more, how many times you're going to make requests of the API? Once for every user, right?
So the show more button is actually is once for every user. So the show more basically has we have our JSON data that we fetch and keep. So it is JSON that is rendered in the page. So this JSON should fetch maybe intervally, probably like some time in the day, maybe 12 midnight in the day. So
yeah,
to update,
which is probably even worse. Right. It probably exacerbates the issue if you're scheduling it to do that. So Edna, the list of users that you have, are you programmatically retrieving the list of users if you're explicitly calling them by username?
Sorry.
So
What?
That the first request that you're making, Edna, to grab the list of users, that you're making two sets of requests, right? One request to initially grab the list of users, and the second request for each user to grab their data. Is that right?
Yes.
That's okay.
Nice. So for that first request, you're not hard coding any usernames, are you?
No.
Okay. And so if there are, I don't know how many users are there, like, how many users do we have currently? So like, let's say 300. And as we grow, I guess did you see where I'm headed with this line of questioning?
Actually, the request that we are calling each username for is just to grab the solutions accepted. So maybe if we can calculate this particular leaderboard data without adding the solutions accepted, then we would not need to call every user over and over again. Like we do not need to call every user in layer 5 tasks.
So Lee, what are your suggestions?
Is the same stuff we talked about a couple months ago, which is probably to have a SQL query. One, to make sure that the queries that aren't there don't already include a list of accepted solutions. So I think, if I recall, part of the point of you guys running the system locally was to be able to look and see what administrative reports are in the admin dashboard and whether or not those have accepted solutions included already. And if that and if an existing report couldn't just be exposed externally. Because what you ultimately want is like a SQL query that runs efficiently, catalogs and orders users by accepted solutions, and then it would be a single should be like a single API query, an API call to get the board, its contents and its users sequenced. Otherwise, what you're going to find is that you've got a solution that doesn't necessarily scale. If you have 300 users, you're going to have to make 301 requests. The first request to get all 300. If it's like 3,000 users, it's probably not just one request to get all the users. That probably is paginated, maybe in sets of 100 or something. I don't know. So if it was 3,000 users, if it was paginated in sets of 100, it would be 300 requests, I think, to 300 requests, right? No, 30 requests. Wait, wow, it's too early for math, but a lot of requests just to get the users, and then one request per user, because what you're saying is you've got to go out and get, and then from there, then you would have aggregated all that info and written it in JavaScript. To then do what you otherwise would have done with a SQL query. And that's fine. That doesn't mean I'm not, all I'm trying to do is, one is let the organizers, Ruth, and the mentors know that you should be helping the two mentees as much as you can and providing some feedback early on. What you guys have looks very nice. It's not responsive. So the fact that people can scroll left to right, that's nice, but that's actually not responsive at all. That's what you just normally get when you put HTML on a page. Anyway, it feels like for the mentors here, perhaps you're not providing feedback, or if you're going to spend time setting up something locally, then get some value out of it, like using a SQL query in that case. I don't know, or like, is there a design spec that talks about how many requests are being made? Or I think what you guys were saying, you're creating your own point-based system. What you're saying is, if a user wants to get a lot of total points here, what they could do is just game the system, go in and just like as many posts as they want to, every single post. They would at least get 1 point for that. Then they can go make a couple of posts of their own. They'll get a point for that. Ultimately, the hard thing where they would get 3 points in this weighted system would be on the solutions accepted. So that might be kind of hard for them, but at least they could game this system by just going through and liking whatever they want to. And that would count in this context. So be careful of the behavior that you're incentivizing as you design such a board, because there's a lot of humans out there that will, I don't know what other phrase to use, but game the system. So think about that. If you're only accounting for accepted solutions, perhaps that avoids some of how they might game the board. Maybe not entirely, because they still might be going for an easy solution. Maybe they're copying someone else's solution, or I don't know. I do know that I've recently provided a couple of solutions or two. So around this concept of the board and what behavior we're trying to incentivize, is there a system in place for ensuring that individuals who provide solutions, that their solutions are marked as accepted? So there's a number of posts out there that have solutions, but those solutions are not marked as accepted. And so Leonard could be at the top of the list, but he's not listed at the moment because his solutions were never marked. So it's a bit of an orthogonal challenge to the technical challenge of creating such a board. But those are things that if you give holistic consideration to the functionality that you're designing, you'd want to account for.
So sorry, Lee, for the light receipt.
So Leonard, just a little bit more feedback here. So the other thing to consider for this especially speaks to scalability if what we're looking at is an all-time total accepted points leaderboard. It's gonna be probably a lot of data to sift through. It'll also be maybe demoralizing to, I would think, this is something to put into your design. It might be demoralizing to newcomers who see Anita is like number one here and she has thousands of points. How would I ever make it to that? Maybe that's fine, maybe not. And maybe if you've considered for this, I'd love to hear about what you guys are thinking. So by the way, the title of this board, if it's not just about solutions accepted, what is the title that you're thinking of?
Okay. I think thank you, Lee, for the observations and features. I think for the title, I think there are 5 leaderboard rather. There are 5 leaderboard works. So I don't know if with the features and the observations they have made, I know for the part where you talked about the design and if with the likes and posts, folks can just go. Oh yeah, I said this in the early leaderboard. Folks can just go in and put in different likes and just go and like a lot of posts, and then it will just populate this, and that's not really the motive of it. So I agree with that point. Making the design of this so that folks that come into the community do not misinterpret what the leaderboard is, and we just have people liking posts and putting up random posts to get to the leaderboard status. So I don't know if Oyi and Edna, if you have any questions for these features, and maybe Leonard, do you have any thoughts?
Yes. Apparently, what Leonard put in the chat, the like received is not like giving it when someone comes in and give you a like. So I don't think, only if you can recruit people to come and like your post, and then. But the only one I see that it's a problem, according to Lee, is the calling of API in case we have a lot of users, which is the solutions accepted. But it seems it's like a really prominent part of this leaderboard. So honestly, it's only if we can get other data from one particular API, that is one of the APIs, and then look into it and see what other things we could like explore in order to make this leaderboard come to life. If not, it's still going to be the same thing. If this solution is accepted, it's still implemented.
Okay, so I think Lee mentioned something about a SQL query. So the truth is, it's like it was a challenge thinking through how to make the leaderboard scalable and efficient. Because yes, the multiple requests that we make to the API was, for me, it was an issue thinking through it though. So but then it didn't really occur to me that yes, we could have used maybe some sort of SQL query, and that was, I don't know, that was really inefficient of us. And maybe we could go back, because Lee said yes, it's not really it's not the local leaderboard for nothing. So maybe we could see a way to improve this, and also see a way to inject this into the local leaderboard. So the design for this leaderboard, the design spec for the leaderboard doesn't really like outline so much on how design would look. So I would say we the mentors kind of gave the mentees some sort of for them to take their own initiative on how to set up leaderboard from the formal leaderboard we have. So, and that's how they were able to come up with this. And because with the color aligned with what we had, okay. Yes, the holistic approach was all about the point system. So it was all about the pointing system.
So yeah, Leonard, you don't have to necessarily respond to each of the things. Anyway, yeah, you guys should write down a design spec, which accounts for stuff like, hey, is someone going to abuse the system? Is it going to scale? Like, hey, just to be clear on all the feedback that I just dumped onto you guys, I'm sure it kind of felt like a dump, and that I want to be clear, like Edna and Oyindamola, you guys have done well. There's a lot of nice things to say about what the work that you've done. So it's early in the morning for me, so my voice is hoarse. I'm a grumpy bastard. I haven't had any coffee. Like I'm sitting on the side of this, by the way. The presentation really isn't to me, it's to yourselves and to the other mentors and organizers here, and to just to Gaurav, to everybody that's on the call. I'm just the one that's dumping on you, and I don't want it to feel like that. Like, so there's a ton of great things to say about what's already been done. Like, and by the way, from my perspective, the UX design is great. Like this will, you could improve it by working on responsiveness of the of what's shown. I'm not sure how much you have to work with. It's kind of something like, as it gets smaller in width, maybe you might start by dropping the likes, posts, and solutions accepted, and then just leaving rank, avatar, image, username, and points. And if it gets really squished, maybe removing the name. So it's just rank, avatar, image, and points. But just stuff like that to just iterate a little bit on the, if you were to do anything about the UX. Using the design constraints of taking advantage of the REST API that's there, and only being able to do that, the approach seems somewhat reasonable to me. Like if you didn't have SQL at hand to be able to do, and that wasn't part of what was possible. Like last time that we spoke, we talked about, oh, hey, there's these REST APIs. What do they do and how could they be used? And from my perspective, you all have iterated very well from there, from that vantage point of like, what are the REST APIs and how to use them? This seems like a fairly reasonable thing that's going on. So anyway, I'm trying to give some positive feedback instead of just the dump. The other positive thing here is, or that you all should give yourselves grace on, I would think, is something like humans trying to game the system. You're trying to be number one on the board. It's like, well, that is in part what's desired. Like part of the point of the board is to both recognize the efforts that people have given, help give recognition to people, and also encourage others to provide more solutions so that they can rank on the board. So it's like, well, we do desire for it to have that effect, for people to want to rank on the board. So here's where I would give yourselves some grace is like, in a totally non-technical way, how might they try to cheat, and should that be reflected in the board and of the metrics that we're using? Could they cheat, or would that incentivize poor behavior? That whole set of conversations is like not necessarily obvious at all, and it is not necessarily technical in nature. It does affect the technical approach, but so anyway, lots of, don't be dismayed at the end of the conversation is what I'm getting to. By the way, almost any piece of software that's worth its salt, or that's like worth having done, A, it's generally kind of difficult. B, you usually have to rewrite it once or twice. Like usually you go through and you learn a ton of stuff. You got to go back to the drawing board, and that's, experience helps with that. But even then, very seasoned software engineers are almost always accruing technical debt, almost always have to go back and rewrite stuff. So cool. I'll let you guys continue.
Yep. So thankfully, there was a ton of feedback to be captured here. So yeah, let me share my screen. So moving on to next topic, we have by Harshit, and I guess he's not on the call. So let's visit his PR. Add coverage to press release and filters. So he has added a filter on the news page, and some reviews were made by me and Nikhil. So he'll be pushing changes by today. So let's visit the deployment of the PR. So he has added a filter and a search and 2 filters for coverage and press releases.
Yeah, I think, but Harshit isn't on the call, but it's probably, maybe it's counterintuitive for him, but the goal was to get the page loaded with neither of them being activated. So both of them just being in kind of in light gray. It might be that he needs to just inverse the coloring. And then the goal was to just allow people to filter on one versus the other. Or remove the filter.
Okay, so yeah, that feedback is captured over there. So he'll be following up on the PR.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah.
Do other people have feedback? So it's a very simple new feature request. There's a list of news. News is either generated from layer 5 and published as a press release, or news is coverage given by analysts. So I think on Friday or Saturday, layer 5's works were in the news. That piece of news isn't listed here. There's an open issue on it. But that piece of news was from an analyst, a reporter, looking at some of the work that's being done in the community and writing an article about it. So the goal here is to be able to switch between the two types. So press release shouldn't be hyphenated, by the way. I'll take that note.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a different way that you think it would be intuitive to filter here?
I mean, one way for filtering we are using over here, like these categories and tags. And it would be just coverage and press releases for news, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Gaurav, you're right. That's actually, I took a screenshot of the tags and used that as the basis for the design here.
Oh, yep.
Anybody else have an alternative approach to filtering?
Okay, I'll consider this as no. So if anyone has any comments, you can, or suggestions regarding this PR, you can comment on this pull request. So before we move next, I think we have a newcomer, Pranshu Srivastava. So is it your first time on the call?
Hello.
Hello, hey.
Hi. My name is Krish Aryan, and I joined Meshri, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I submitted a PR.
It's my first time. Hello.
Yeah. I have also submitted a PR regarding removing some spaces in prerequisites. So I was just curious and how these meetings go on. So I joined it.
Yeah, thank you for joining. So yeah, you will be in this meeting. We usually discuss about website, layer 5 website and stuff related to front end. So yeah. So do you have a particular area of interest, front end, back end, Golang, JavaScript, anything?
I'm actually a front-end developer, but I want to shift in DevOps. So I'm trying to learn DevOps, but I can contribute in projects such as React and JavaScript. I will try to contribute in that.
Okay, yep, good. So I guess we miss Pranshu Srivastava. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. I'm Pranshu, and I'm in my pre-final year student in my undergraduate, and I'm just trying to get started with open source. So this is my first meeting for layer 5.
Welcome, Pranshu, to the community. Hope you will enjoy and contribute more.
Thanks. Actually, I have learned backend development. So could you please let me know where I can contribute in backend development?
Yeah, so we have multiple number of projects. So for most of the projects use backend, and we use Golang as a language. So you can contribute to Meshri. It has a lot of backend related issues. So yeah, I'll share the link.
And also, like, this meeting is for the front end parts. So when do we have a meeting for the back end part of the code?
Yeah, this not a backend specific meeting. So you can subscribe to this layer 5 calendar. So we have a Meshri call week on every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. IST, and we have bi-weekly build and release call. So that also includes backend related stuff. So I'll be sharing the link of the calendar. You can subscribe this calendar to get updates to your own calendar.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Okay, so moving to next topic, we have volunteers for call to action for Meshmap page. Yep. So
I was working on this Meshmap CTA. So I created a design, but like I didn't get much ideas on this. So I asked them here to suggest some designs, and I also searched for designs on Codepen, but I didn't get anything that can fit in. So it will be great if you guys suggest some designs for the CTA. Like we are not we are not supposed to have like rectangle CTAs for this one. Like Lee suggested to use any another shape or something new for this one. So it will be great if you guys suggest something on this.
Okay, so do you have the design ready so you can present or share your screen?
So I already presented design in last meeting, but after that design got rejected. So I didn't have anything new on this for this call. So if you want, I can share that. But like that design got rejected in last meeting. So,
okay, so are you now working towards new design, or you need some more feedback suggestions on your previous designs?
So I asked them there to share some design. So if she shares something, like I will start working on that.
Okay, sure. So yeah, about the designs, you can ask more for feedbacks in the layer 5's website channel. Okay, so next update is about smpspec.io. So that's by me or by Aditya. So yep. Would you like to go, or I should? Okay, I'll go then. So yeah, recently this Meshmap page was MeshMark page was made for the smpspec.io, which explains all this, what is Meshmap and about MeshMark formula and all. And it also includes a video for MeshMark demo. And there is an outstanding PR which was reviewed by Shin. So I have updated the PR regarding the correct context and asked Mithika to provide more content for the difference between MUE and PUE and MUE. So Lee, do you have any more further comments on this? I'll share the link of the PR in chat.
Yeah. PUE. Does it say PUE on the chart?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it says over here, power utilization efficiency.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe something for me to follow up on just because I don't know that it's the design of the formula is probably not of interest to folks on this call. But suffice to say that one of the concepts that's missing is the classes of utilization efficiencies. Right now, there's an example given for one, but there isn't a list of individual classes or categories of utilization efficiencies. Having that, it's captured in the formula, but having that set of classes itemized, I think will help people, would be helpful. It might help answer the question about PUE. I don't think that there should be an acronym PUE. That's only confusing.
Yep. And for the MV also, I think that we should use directly MeshMark utilization efficiency everywhere. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to next topic we have for Mishri.io. Yash or Abhijay, would you like to present your work?
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you can see my screen. In previous week, I showed that we are nearly complete with the home page. So I started working on the catalogs page. I made all the lists, but just have to add the filters on the page currently. And I also have one more question. I just can't figure it out. When I apply changes to the run Meshri button, but it doesn't show on the page. But if I inspect it, it will show on the changes on the inspect, but not on the page. So do anyone know how to solve this?
Could you please say one more time? If
Yeah,
you inspect, it shows.
Yeah, let me show. Like if I even apply changes to the button, like here, in inspect, we can see that the buttons in the middle of the around on playground. But if I closes the inspect, it stays there only. I tried many times, but it doesn't shift or show any style changes on the position.
Okay, so like there could be two possibilities. So one would be that this button is wrapped under a parent class, which is having this particular styles, and you might be applying styles to the child class. Or yeah, there must be some issues with the class names or anything you might have to look into the code.
But in that case, it doesn't even show on the inspect when you inspect it.
So yeah, Yash, you're trying to make changes to the navigation bar. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah, one of the things that's another, outside of what Gaurav had said, another potential issue is, at least on the current site, I forget the name of the navigation bar. Shoot, I forget. A small JavaScript library, nav something.
Yeah,
I forget, but it comes with its own. You would say it again?
It is side nav. I think it is side nav. A JavaScript library called side nav.
Okay. Yeah. And in so much as I recall, it comes with its own CSS. Like the way that you install it is they'll say like, they'll suggest that you include as a link in the metadata, in the head of your site is a link to include the minified CSS from some popular CDN, which is great for speed of loading of CSS of style. It isn't great for potentially exactly what's happening to you, which is you're making changes which are affecting the correct classes, and you should be seeing the effects of those changes, except as it turns out, the CSS that's getting loaded every time is the minified public version from somewhere else that doesn't have any of your changes. I'm not sure if that's what's happening here or not, but I figured I'd mention it because that can throw you for a loop.
So I think I will look into that. If there's any other changes that's happening.
If you make it, yeah, so right here in inspect, if you make style changes here directly, you're saying you don't see those take effect either?
Yeah, like if I change the right parameter, it shows in the inspect, but if I closes the inspect, it's still there, but it will work. It doesn't show in the page, it just shows on the inspect.
Maybe that's the style for the media query. I think when you open the inspect, the media query activates and only that side is visible. See?
It should be around 100% only.
Yeah. So do search the page real quick for where it's loading the CSS for the nav bar. If that's separately defined. Anyway, yeah. So other than this, is how far along is the rewrite of the site?
I just have to add the filters on the catalog page and it will be finished, I guess. And then two or three pages will be left. First, the service mesh interface page. I don't have that added. And the blogs page. And yeah, and the programs. Others are done.
Okay. Okay, good. So other than exactly the reason why you started to rewrite the thing in the first place, which was for the filters, like other than that, it will be done soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more reviews, any more suggestions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yash. That was a good update. So yeah, let me share my screen again. So we have the last topic is about Meshri UI. So currently we are at version 6.0 release candidate 5R. So this Meshri UI refactoring is for 7 release. So we are refactoring the whole Meshri UI using, we have some proposals. Based on that, we are using React 18, Material UI 5, and Redux to restructure whole UI. So if you are into front-end React and JavaScript, so this might be a good look for you. So we have a branch called Meshri UI refactoring. So you can directly make a PR against this branch, and the contribution guidelines are presented in the README. And we have a progress tracker for each of the components that we have on the Meshri UI. So most of them are done, and if you want to like take any of the component, you can simply add the component name and assign it to yourself and start working on that and then make a PR. So if you are totally new to this Meshi project, I would suggest to pick a very small component that is not being implemented. So you will gain much more confidence in implementation. And yeah, I'll share the link in chat also. Yep, so that was all for I guess for today's meeting. So anyone has anything else left?
Yeah, I'll show a quick demo of the current progress of the SMB dashboard.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so previously, for the first iteration, we were showing the performance profiles on the basis of service mesh, and according to a result, we were showing test specification and environment details. But now, after further consideration, we are planning for a second iteration and some design changes, for which we have finally down to 3-page layout, in which the first landing page would be of what are the different types of tests that the user wants to see the results of, like control pen test or network test. And after that, when we select a particular test, we'll show all the performance profiles for which that particular type of test is run. And after that, the user, if wants to see the results of a particular performance profile, he then clicks to an individual profile, and then it's redirect to a page in which he can see all the graph and test specification, environment details, and everything. So right now we have initialized all the 3 pages, and after a proper analysis of what data is coming from SMP, like CNCF clusters, we'll actually make it dynamic, and yeah, that's the plan. Right now we are just initialize the page and have a basic workflow of how things should work. And yeah, that was my update.
Nice. Give some consideration, if you would, as to how people navigate those 3 layers. Mm-hmm. It looks like on the left-hand side, that left-hand menu, they can navigate that first layer by choosing maybe the first and second layer they could navigate, if like all profiles represents the first layer, and then an individual profile represents the second layer. And then for the third, like you might need a cookie crumb trail or a back button or I don't know, but something to think about.
Yeah. All right. The first like the landing page would be like all the tests, right? Like burst, soak, and individual, like according to that, like soak test and all the other tests, right? And after that, user can select whether you want to just see soak, burst, or JWT.
That makes sense. The first 2 are covered.
Yeah, that was an update. Now, yeah, we'll work on it to iteratively to make it more dynamic. That's it.
Thank you, Aditya, for demoing the dashboard. So we still have 3 more minutes left. So anyone has any questions regarding projects, meetings, and community, you can ask. I guess no one has.
So yeah, one of the things that we don't have that we'll be working towards soon is an integration of the learning paths from layer 5 IO with the forthcoming cloud native playground. So the learning paths on layer 5.io and play.meshry.io. Play.meshry.io would be a site that people go to. They sign in and can use a hosted instance of Meshry in order to familiarize with how service meshes work. If it's just a blank playground where they can type commands and do things, they're not necessarily going to know what those commands are or what they should do. These learning paths here tell them that this is what a mesh does, and these are the things that you can do with it. These are the chapters and labs that you can walk through. And so but this doesn't have a live playground environment necessarily. So it's the merging of those two that at some point we'll want to work toward. So I figured I'd just mention it in case people are looking for something to dig into, or so both of those sites will be done on Gatsby. They should be able to exchange data between them. So the source of truth for learning paths will be here on layer 5.io, but those same data sets, those same components, that same YAML from here can be used by play.meshry.io. So.
Thank you, Lee, for giving a brief update about learning paths. So if anyone is interested on working towards this, they can reach out in Slack. So we are almost at top of the hour. So let's call this a wrap. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet you same time on Monday.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye everyone.